I'm actually not going to be going to any of the shops right now. I'll be heading straight to Juness. I'll explain why once we're there. Of course it's not raining in Okina City. Even when Izanami's about to bring the apocalypse, it's not raining in Okina City, and we still can't buy stuff, okay. So here we are at the food court for real, one last time, and I actually mean it this time.
Alright!
This has been a game of many fake-out endings. So many points have pretended that the game was over when it really wasn't, from Namatame to Adachi, even Marie, but this is for real. This is actually the end. So let's confirm the situation. In general, this is just something that I want to get off my chest now. I'm actually not a big fan of Ame no Sagiri. I just feel like it only exists just to trick you into thinking Adachi's dungeon is the final dungeon. It's just, I do like the implications there with Teddy's shadow that it's been around all along, but even then, it really is just there so that there can be a big boss fight to trick you into believing is the final boss. But one thing that I will say here, if you go back to the first day we arrived in Inaba, the gas station, guess what was there? Namatame's truck. I love all of the rewatch bonuses in the first few days of the game. Go back and just go through the first few days of the game again. It's just eye-opening all of the stuff you'll catch there. A lot of people debate as well, like, what Adachi vomiting means. And, yes, here, they're talking about this. We got some foreshadowing on this from, Mr. Edagawa as well. But yeah, Adachi vomiting, whether, it's him just, you know, coming face to face with a murder that he caused for the first time, or if he faked the vomiting, I don't know. But yes, Adachi did have a very similar persona to ours. And this actually leads to another thing. So, Namatame, if Namatame also got the push, then maybe Namatame had the potential to summon his own form of Izanagi, if he had actually, entered the TV world, you know, before he went in with Nanako. And this is just purely my own headcanon. Like, just completely my own personal theory. Absolutely not canon at all. Also, this is actually kind of cool. Yukiko's just going into some whole mythological symbolism here. Don't worry, there's a lot of symbolism that I'll be going into myself later. Of course, you know, all the personas have been from Japanese mythology, so it's only fitting for our final boss to be from said mythology. Izanami in general is basically like Japan's equivalent of Hades, in that if there is ever a god that they need to make the bad guy, it's usually either her or Tsukuyomi. I mean, there are some, like, there's some basis for that in actual mythology, but I still feel kind of bad for how often Izanami gets demonized. This isn't even the first game that she's been demonized in, actually. Like, she's been a major villain in another one, and also associated with, like, being a goddess of the underworld and death when, I don't know, like, it's part of her. Yeah, well, I'll talk more about Izanami and what she represents later. So what I was saying about, Namatame, though. So, my own personal theory is that if he ever was able to summon his own Izanagi, then I would personally call it Hollow Izanagi, and it would be a very pale white or grey form, maybe even wearing traditional Japanese funeral garb, representing Izanagi at the moment of Izanami's death, in the despair over his wife's death. I feel like that would make sense, considering, he was driven to his actions by his grief over Yamano's death. And, you know, Adachi's Izanagi represents, Izanagi while still staying in the filth of the underworld, whereas Yu Narukami got the, you know, the typical Izanagi, but still, even Yu Narukami's Izanagi is influenced by a few aspects of himself, namely that it looks kind of like a teenage rebel, or what Japan's idea of a teenage rebel is. So it kind of shows that he's still, you know, a teenager and still very much just growing into his role in the world. Oh, wow. So, Naoto saying this is actually painfully, I wouldn't say ironic, but, like, kind of tragic, because if you get not the bad ending, like, if you don't complete Adachi's dungeon before the deadline, it is heavily implied that Naoto is murdered by shadows coming out of the TV while she's talking to you on the phone. So, yeah, kind of creepy that she's the one telling us about that. Oh, this is just making me think of Narrative Telephone from Critical Role, but yeah. And yeah, the whole soulmate thing, it is just interesting how the Midnight Channel represents the whole culture of rumors and about how they spread and mutate into new forms and how it just becomes so hard to discern the truth. So yeah, everyone's saying like they had Saki on the brain because everyone was thinking about Saki. Then they all saw Saki, but the way they each saw Saki may have been different. The people who didn't really know the victims would have seen more blurrier silhouettes. But yeah, Yosuke was much closer to her, so the Midnight Channel reacted to what he wanted to see. Because everyone else said that they briefly saw Rise on a striptease show, but that it cut out before the good part. Yeah, Namatame definitely knew the victims quite well, so they must have appeared clearly on the TV. That is true, like, rumors about her were circulating all over town. He must have been paying attention to the fact that people who got famous were kidnapped, so he must have done his research and realized who that child was. And that meant that he saw the image clearly before we did. I've always actually just really liked, like, your mind makes it real plots. It's always been kind of fascinating to me. And it doesn't really matter too much what the, what the weather report is for the rest of the story, because yes, once we enter the TV, there is no going back. It's not as bad as it may sound, but if there's anything else that you want to see in Inaba, make sure you do it now.
Alright, time to get fired up!
This could be the end, Midnight Channel fans. This group of meddling kids who couldn't be satisfied with their 1 year of fame have decided they want to shut us down permanently. Well, not if our executive producer has anything to say about that. In this year's true finale, the group you've grown to love so much will face our most devious death course yet. Should they survive, you'll get to watch a god let loose live on air. Don't go away, don't touch that dial. You won't want to miss the greatest season finale in history.
I sense a tremendous presence. It's unlike anything we had faced. And it seems like a new area has formed.
I bet it's that lady. She's waiting for us there. That reminds me. That Amino something we beat said stuff like, "We'll meet again." If that thing's gonna show up again, let's crush him completely so he can't cause any more problems from here on out.
It almost sounds like this is foreshadowing some kind of a rematch with him.
Damn straight. Let's go snap that thing in two. We'll do it and give Senpai a big farewell tomorrow.
Let's do our best like always, leader.
It is kind of sad that this really is going to be the last time we do something like this.
Well, I mean, it was at the time, but then Persona 4 Arena happened.
You know, this might sound like a weird thing to say, but it was a lot of fun.
That's because we all strove together toward a common goal. There were many things we believed in without questioning them. The culprit's identity, their motives. There were many occasions where we nearly gave up.
It may have been easier if we'd chosen to look the other way, but we didn't.
Even if we had to fight every inch of our way, I want to go on feeling, seeing, touching, and thinking for myself.
Yeah. Still, one person alone can only understand so much. That's why we're all here together.
Right! All for one and one for all!
So long as someone's got your back, you can kick against the pricks no matter how tough they are.
This is for our future!
So we can see him off tomorrow with no regrets.
Ew. Yosuke always has to try to make himself look all cool. But he's so pathetic, it makes my skin crawl.
Probably just fleas on your ratty old suit. I spilled juice on you earlier.
No wonder I smell of orangey freshness.
Well then, let's do this!
I like how we get one last, just, moment of goofing off as the team. Here we are, the Fox is here too, we're all here. And yeah, they're actually right this time for once. This really is the final battle. You still have access to all of the other dungeons though. So if you want to grind, get anything from those places, in fact I even think, can you even fight the optional bosses now? And you need to talk to Risei to search for Izanagi. I will say though that if you're on a New Game Plus, there's something the optional bosses unlock, and it's kind of too late for it at this point. How you unlock that is kind of jerkish, honestly. You have to enter the Velvet Room between getting the Orb of Sight and talking to the gas station attendants. I've got that in its own video. I actually have pre-recorded that fight, so yeah, you'll see that later. For now though, this is the fight we're concerned with. Ashihara Nakatsu. So, yeah, that is probably incomprehensible to you, but I actually looked up what that means. So, this is from Japanese mythology, and it literally translates as the middle country of reed beds. It's the world between the heavens and Yomi, or the underworld. And it eventually came to be known as, another name for Japan in general. In concept, it reminds me a lot of the Norse Midgard, which literally means Middle Earth, which is meant to describe, the mortal plane of existence between the realm of the gods and the realm of the underworld. So I'm going to bring Kanji and Naoto, and in terms of who else I want to bring... Yeah, you know what, let's go with, I kind of want to bring Chie for this. So, we have a few costumes that we haven't had a chance to try out yet. We've also got Naoto's Frost Shot, so yeah, we've finally got all of our stuff back. Also, we haven't seen Kanji using the Guardian before. Nope, no drag costume, let's go in here in something a little bit better than that. Okay, yeah, I'll show the detective... No, I'll get the one that she won't like out of the way first. So yes, the school swimsuit is actually a Naoto-only costume. And in my first playthrough, I actually missed that one, so this will be my first time really getting to see it. I still love the tracksuit, but unfortunately for Chie, I haven't actually used her in the striped bikini before, I just realized either. Suitable for rep. That makes it sound even worse. Oh boy. Yeah, this is gonna be, also that's the wrong item. Yeah, I guess you'll take the chakra ring. Don't think I've shown Kanji's midwinter outfit either. There's something else I could show at the entrance, but I think we're actually just gonna head straight in for now. This place is actually a familiar one. We've been here in our dreams, all the way back when we first arrived in Inaba. This music might actually be familiar to you too, if you've got any of the bad endings. Just kind of cool realizing that. Before, though, we go in here, we, is that a Jack Frost gun that Naoto is using? I think it is. It's weird, it's kind of considered one of her better weapons. But yeah, there's the swimsuit and there's Chie. Yeah, I'm just gonna talk to Chie quickly just to get this out of the way. This is kind of a bad place to be having these conversations. I feel like Naoto's not going to like this either. Yes, wearing a bathing suit in the pathway to the Japanese underworld. Yes, anything looks good on him, even a bath towel. Rise would certainly agree. And I guess we can get Kanji's comment on his outfit. I'll show these outfits for one fight and then I'll switch over. Looking forward to showing Naoto's detective outfit. Yeah, it looks like there's some sort of water around here. I've always really liked the look of this place.
Oh, that's not good.
Pure Papillon, weak to light. Okay. And then we've got Divine Mother.
Electricity won't work. What else you got?
Well, you're not immune to light, so I guess Naoto can take this one. Okay, Kaguya. I should probably switch to Norn just for the added buffs. I guess you can go ahead and do this. I have the Rudra ring on her, so her physical skills cost half their usual price. Yeah, that is actually a Jack Frost gun. When it said Frost Shot, I thought it meant like, you know, just like ice, not Frost the character. Yeah, that's a resistance. No, it's not even a resistance. Okay, then. Well, let's see if Kanji can't Primal Force this, or he will do the fish slapping dance on it.
It ain't going down.
And God's Hand.
I guess that does it.
Silver Fox Fur? Okay, then. And I'm gonna go ahead and change Chie out of... Well, again, we haven't shown her swimsuit yet, so I may as well do it now. Well, I wanted to show it at least once. Oh no, Kanji, don't do that, she'll Galactic Punt you again. Oh, that's all, okay then. You know what, if we're doing this... Sure, why not? Beach Party in Izanami's realm. I will do this for one battle, but I guess it's sort of fitting. We're showing Chie's outfit. Everyone is equally embarrassed.
Oh, you can win this. Just give Wind a rest.
Okay, physical, interesting, and crazy twins.
Wind won't work. 3 of them.
To
Don't
fire.
give them,
Okay, I've got a few ways I can deal with that. Let's go for Kaguya. Not that. It feels really fitting to be hearing Reach Out to the Truth in this place.
Enemy down. Nice move, Senpai.
I don't know if I did it before, but Reach Out to the Truth might actually be one of my favorite
Nice move, Senpai.
RPG battle themes of all time. Like, as far as Null battle themes go. Like, among others, I really like Xenoblade 2's Null battle theme.
Places, everyone. And action.
And I have a soft spot for Mass Destruction, even though it is really bizarre. I would say The World Ends With You, but The World Ends With You has, like, tons of regular battle themes. And Beach Party! Okay, I guess I'll take this. So, like, as far as experience goes, Izanami is level 85, so if you want a decently fair fight, maybe try not to go above that level. Prophecy Orb, that's kind of cool, and Ill Will Claw. Which reminds me of an obscure Carmen Sandiego villain called Ill Will. And here is the detective costume. Yeah, there we go. Yes, the trademark attire of Sherlock Holmes that he never actually wore. Well, it's good that she has an outfit that she approves of. I still need to... I've actually vaguely started reading one of the Sherlock Holmes stories. I actually bought, like, a special edition of one of their,
There's an enemy immune to light.
of one of the books when I was overseas,
Kanji, your
like in
defense
Europe.
has been lowered.
Oh, I'm glad we're getting these defense lowered voice. I might actually want to stall out this battle just to get all of them, because she has one for every party member, and that'll be great for Hardcore Rosette fan. Oh wow, this will be even better for Hardcore Rosette fan.
4 enemies left. Don't give up.
Or she could just say, there's 4 enemies left, which we've heard a billion times before. Yeah, I really do need to read Sherlock Holmes more. Like, it actually kind of surprised me how much more empathetic Holmes is in the actual books than most adaptations make him. And apparently, the Ace Attorney version actually kind of leans more into that interpretation, according to Shu Takumi. Or, you know, Sherlock Sholmes, apparently.
Enemy down.
If that is true, then I'm going to be very, very happy.
Oh hey, not too shabby, Kanji.
I guess one day you might be watching this in the future, where you might actually be playing that game localized.
Kanji, that was great. You're the man.
Now, Rise, could you please comment on our
Yes,
debuff? There we go.
Senpai, your defense is down. Senpai, your defense has been lowered.
Some people in the comments have pointed out that maybe the reason why I've been, I haven't really got Hardcore Rosette fan yet is because I've actually been playing too well, in that I haven't seen a lot of Rise's lines for party members being defeated, or party members, being knocked down, or being on low health, or just other various things, like, or getting debuffed, or things like that. So yeah, that's a case where, do well, not perfect. Sometimes you have to intentionally play badly in order to, get more navigator quotes. Okay, looks like that's new too.
Darkness won't work.
Weak to electricity, that's gonna help. Let's, alright, that thing was weak to physical. I don't actually have a lot of the weaknesses of most of these enemies memorized, and I guess with that I can actually lead into this. So, I've always found that when a lot of people play this dungeon, often the whole dungeon ends up being just a fat lot of nothing, because they're so overpowered by this point that none of the enemies are any threat, and just because of that, they just don't care about the aesthetic of this place, or the fights, or they just skip past everything. And I'm going to try not to do that. I'm going to try and give this dungeon the same treatment I would give any other dungeon.
2 enemies.
Just have at it! Bring it on!
And that's why I tried to avoid being too over-leveled earlier in the game. Okay, not down yet. What's going next? Okay, that thing is. Just as a warning, I have recently gotten back into playing Digital Devil Saga, so if that messes up my muscle memory, I apologize. That game is actually kind of weird because our menu is on square instead of triangle, like most RPGs, and it's triangle to map. So that's taken a lot of getting used to. Oh, I miss having so much HP, so much SP after every fight. No more Hollow Forest. Some people have also said that, like, the Hollow Forest gimmick was great for one dungeon, but if there was any more dungeons like it, it would have really overstayed its welcome. Oh, that's a cool looking beetle.
You can win this. Just don't use light on it.
Weak to dark, though. That is, yeah, that's gonna be fun. It's funny, when I was actually fighting some hands in,
You can win this.
Oh, hey, that's, the first time you said, and, wow, Aaron Fitzgerald did a really good job of saying that, Persona's name. Well, it sounds a bit condescending to say I'm impressed, but, like, you know, for most English voice actors aren't fluent in Japanese, so, yeah, it is pretty cool to hear that. I mean, I know Yosuke's voice actor, Yuri Lowenthal, is. I said that much earlier, you can trust most of his pronunciations because of that. Twirling with a Jack Frost gun. You may also notice that we're getting some material drops from the enemies here, so obviously there must be a way to sell those, and I'll show that once we're back at the entrance next. Still only in floor 1, so I should probably try and head out of here as soon as I can. Yep, no preemptive strike for you, but at least you didn't get a preemptive strike of your own. I'm really hoping that I get Hardcore Resentment. If I don't, I'll go back to Yu-Gi-Oh's castle and farm just weak enemies and just get her weakest points there. The Vast Nebula, that I believe is Exhaustion? Great, okay. Okay. We've never seen them run like that before. Exhaustion. Okay. I guess I can still try Mahama on though. I don't think Exhaustion lowers any of your stats, it's just basically poison but for SP. If it was Old Man, it would be a little bit more of a threat. Why are you critting so much?
Senpai, that was so... You can win this, but not by using ice.
Exhaust boost, but you don't have like Ant Pupil or anything like that. You are not immune to fire though, so this is going to be fun. Is that like, do you have like 1 health left?
Go for it.
Ah, I was hoping to fish smacking dance you. And yeah, that outfit comes with a, we've seen it before, but it comes with a new animation.
Are you alright, Natsu-kun?
Please tell me that counts for Hardcore Reset fan. It's just annoying, like, okay, if you're playing the Steam version, there probably is a tracker for Hardcore Reset fan if you like break open your achievement coding, which, I may or may not have done that with a program for my Trails in the Sky series where I had to wipe my achievement progress. Ran Magus. Well, this fight's gonna go quickly.
You need to thin him out.
Mamudon. Everything here is weak to that, so rip everything.
Just the result I expected.
I was about to say elementary, and then I realized that, yeah, he doesn't, well, he says elementary sometimes, but he never, I don't think he, well, I think, yeah, he never says elementary, my dear Watson. I don't know where that came from, but, it's definitely not the original stories. And yeah, these are the stairs on these floors. These strange glowing portals. No, it's just a desire to find the truth. So yeah, Yomotsu Hirasaka is the slope that leads down to Yomi, or the underworld in Japanese mythology. This is where Izanagi came when Izanami died, and he went to try and bring her back from the realm of the dead. There are a lot of parallels between the story of Izanami and Orpheus, the protagonist persona from Persona 3.
Oh, that's not... You can win this. Just don't use darkness.
Phantom Hero sounds like a tune-in Bjorn thing.
Physical attacks won't work. What a pain.
And Mistress Pot sounds like some kind of weird drug dealer's name.
4 enemies left. Don't give up. Come on!
But yeah, both Orpheus and Izanagi went to the underworld to attempt to bring back their wives when they died. I guess I'll go for a Mind Charge Mega Dollar on here. And in both cases, they were unable to retrieve them. They made some kind of fatal mistake, and that mistake meant that their spouse was lost forever. In Orpheus' case, he looked at her when they were told that she would disappear if he looked at her. And for Izanagi, well, we'll get to that later, because I think it's actually very symbolic of a lot of things in this game.
This is how a man does it.
I don't think that Tetrakarn blocks this. Or, you know, it could just miss everything, because that's a thing that happens.
Come on! Take it!
Okay, this might hurt, but I kind of want to remove that reflector.
Awesome,
Enemy
Chie-senpai!
down. You did it, Chie-senpai! Take it! Enemy down!
Shall I take over?
I guess.
Here goes then.
Ultimate Jack Frost Blaster!
It's quite tenacious.
I've always liked that quote of Naoto's, it's quite tenacious. just a pretty great way to mention that, oh yeah, I mind charge, so $1 on time. It's a pretty great way of putting that, an enemy survived an attack. It's a little annoying, though, that they still use those quotes against mini-bosses. I've never really mentioned that for most of the game, but, so yeah, you have the current time up, don't you? Well, at least I'm immune to that. Okay. No blah, 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 but, Agnayastra is quite a strong attack. The enemies in here don't mess around. You still can't let your guard down. Oh, you must be one of those enemies. Weak to a lot of elements, but don't take much damage from them. Let's go for new cards. Okay, another one more. If I can just keep this chain going. I'll take that. I think Kaguya's learned all of her skills, but at least this will probably mean more magic. Yep, more magic. Not great endurance for such a late game persona, but I'm not going to be using you for defense anyway. Also, it's pretty fitting that we're going through this place with a persona that represents our bond with Marie, the other half that Izanami discarded and is treating like garbage now. So that's another aspect of I love how it almost feels like this place is just made of woven thread as well. It's just such a cool idea for an area, but... So yes, Marie's existence, one of the other reasons why I am sort of more tolerant of Marie than a lot of people are, is that while her... Okay, that's new. But it's another thing that's weak to an instant death element. This will hit weaknesses on something. But yeah.
Enemy down. Nice move, senpai.
She does feel a bit awkwardly shoehorned in to the plot, but at the same time, her existence retroactively makes Izanami come much less out of nowhere than she did in the original game. In the original game, there was very, very limited foreshadowing that Izanami even existed. You've likely forgot about the gas station attendant scene this many hundreds of hours later. But with Marie, at least there was a little bit more foreshadowing, like the combs, their relevance to Japanese mythology, and of course what Marie says after the Hollow Forest dungeon. It also retroactively explains the Sagiri as well, which had no real explanation in the original game either. Yeah, Izanami is a pretty controversial character overall. I mean, on the other hand, like, Ameno Sagiri itself also got almost no foreshadowing, so it's not like they would have even been any better of a final boss. Adachi is really the story's main antagonist, and, some people consider Izanami to be what TV tropes would call a giant space flea from nowhere. That is like a final boss that has very minimal foreshadowing and just kind of, well, you know, comes out of nowhere.
Elimination complete.
Another level. Gotta keep at it.
So I do appreciate Marie for at least making Izanami, like the fact that we've basically been hanging out and helping with her problems, a fragment of Izanami this whole time. And I guess that's also another reason why a lot of people well, some people ship you with Marie, because it's basically like, Marie being a fragment of, Izanami.
Oh, that's not good. Darkness
And Yu's persona being Izanagi, it's kind of like reuniting the original husband and wife.
You're on a roll, senpai. Keep it up. 2 defeated.
But on that note, like, I do think she does fit with the whole thing of, you know, finding the truth, the theme this game has. And it doesn't make sense that you get to the end of this and not find out who was behind the Midnight Channel. And just leave that thing as a completely unexplained mystery. I just feel like that would have been satisfying, so I like the fact that we are basically going up against who I like to call the executive producer of the Midnight Channel. Oh, that's a pretty cool persona to be getting in Shuffle Time. You can get rank 10 sword cards here, I think, but they're kind of rare. So, like, overall, I do think as a final boss, what the heck is that? I don't think I've ever found that accessory before. Kura Okami Pin. Which uses ice damage for... Okay, then. Well, it doesn't get rid of a weakness, though, so it's not great for Yukiko. But yeah, and it wouldn't be one of these games unless you fought a god at the end. That's why some people thought that, Mitsuo wasn't the final boss, obviously, and, Namatame wasn't the final boss. And I will talk about this later, but Izanami, her mythology, definitely does fit the themes of this game in terms of confronting hard truths. But regarding Izanami, there's actually a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, and this comes to, like, okay, you probably know this by now, but I am a, pretty much an admitted TV tropes addict, and there's a few TV tropes that I think are often misused when it comes to Izanami. I like the way this place dead ends too, the path just slowly gets narrower and narrower until it just stops entirely. So the first misused trope, I think, is greater scope villain. This is a trope that's misused quite a lot, especially when it was originally called Bigger Bad, which many people took to just mean big bad, but more evil. Or, there was previously, like, Adachi was like the big bad, but Izanami is the bigger bad to Adachi because she was the one behind him. That trope is the man behind the man. Greater Scope villain is supposed to be about a villain who is a more powerful force of evil than the actual big bad, but not an active player in the story. I actually think a perfect example of a Greater Scope villain comes from an earlier Persona game. Koetsu, I think it is, Kirijo, Mitsuru's grandfather from Persona 3. Without spoiling too much about that game's plot, he is responsible for most of the bad things that are happening in that game's story, but he's long dead by the time the story begins, so he obviously doesn't play an active role at all. That is what I think a Greater Scope villain is. Another good example, I think, is Bruto Cadaverini from the third case of Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations. And yes, they're talking about the dream here, I mentioned that before. So he's a powerful mob boss, and he's the reason why the murder of that case happens, but you never even meet him, and he doesn't play an active role in its events at all. Also, yes, that mysterious figure we fought during the fog for our first battle in the dream, that was Izanami herself. The one who taunted us to try and catch them. It could also be a metaphor for Adachi, the true killer, but I like to think that's actually Izanami. This floor is kind of special. I think it's also a fixed floor. There is a mini-boss in this floor, I believe. But let's get into this. So, I personally don't think that Izanami qualifies as a Greater Scope villain because, she's the final boss. She is the main antagonist of the story. Even though she doesn't directly get involved until the last dungeon, when she does get involved, she gets involved in a very, very big way. So, I think that disqualifies her from being a Greater Scope villain, personally. And she directly had a hand, in the story, and she's been an active observer the whole time.
Let's go.
Whereas Adachi, I think, falls into the category of the heavy. A character who's not the main villain, but is the villain who gets the most focus in the story. A common example of this, realize Kanji has a 666 on his jacket. A common example of that would be, for example, Darth Vader in Star Wars. The Emperor is the real big bad, but Darth Vader is the villain the story is mostly focused on. Darth Vader also falls into another trope that I think Adachi falls under, which is it's personal with the dragon. I actually really like this trope. It's where, and it's surprisingly common, especially in another series that I play, Fire Emblem, where oftentimes the main villain is someone who has no personal connection to the heroes, but the second in command is the one who it's really personal with. Darth Vader is another great example, because, he's, spoilers, Luke Skywalker's father, but Adachi is also an example, because Adachi is the one who actually killed the two victims. He's the one we've been pursuing the whole time, and he's also the one who pretended to be our friend this whole time. So obviously it's much more personal with him than it is with Izanami. I wonder why that trope is so common, making things very personal with, not the main antagonist, but this sort of major second in command. Oftentimes the main antagonist is just somebody so powerful and so otherworldly that it can't really be personal with them. as is the case with Izanami. Oh, Medirahan's skill card's pretty useful. I kind of want to keep Barong. And you actually have some pretty decent skills, so I guess I'll get rid of Adavaka, I guess. See, I went a bit off topic there, but that's why I personally believe that Izanami is not a greater scope villain. And yet, there's a mini-boss in here. I may as well actually fight this mini-boss right now. Izanami's first test in this final episode of the Midnight Channel, the Neo Minotaur.
Darkness won't.
We can on dance ready. Bring it on!
Izanami, you'll have to try better than that. I'm almost crying right now, actually.
Malco!
Understood.
Oh, that was amazing. That was,
Get lost!
Show me your power against this servant of mine. Servant just immediately falls over.
You can win this. Just don't use darkness.
So the Neo Minotaur has a lot of HP, but it takes severely increased damage from fire, ice, elect, and wind. So probably a great time to try out the Frost Shot. All it really does is just kind of spam Rampage and try and sort of hit you for pretty hard damage. It has a lot of strength, but yeah, it does go down fairly quickly. So this is basically just a battle of the glass cannons. I guess I'll power charge, or I could Dragon. Now's probably a good time to Dragon Hustle. I might do that next time. Naoto, though, you are going to go for a Mind Charge. So yeah, as this battle is so simple, I guess I can,
Naoto-kun. Oh, this
yeah,
isn't
its
good.
individual attacks hit incredibly hard. So you might want to equip a persona that nulls or absorbs or repels physical at this point. But I want to go for a Mind Charge attack from Kaguya on this thing. So yes, while I'm doing the rest of this fight, I can mention, so the trope that I do think that Izanami fits is true final boss. That is a final boss who replaces the existing final boss if you've met specific conditions. In this case, it is deciding to go to Judes on the final day and realizing that the story isn't over. Otherwise, Ame no Sagiri or Marie in Golden becomes the final boss. Many people use true final boss as a trope to...
Hanji's been hit. Someone help him. Naoto-kun collapsed. This isn't good.
Oh, how dare you do that. How dare you do that. You are going to pay. You're going to blag. Yes, every time I hear you're going to pay, I mentally fill it out with that. That's a Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn boss conversation. You...
Last one. Go for it.
I really want to have Kanji be the one to avenge Naoto, but Naoto won't get the experience if I do that, so let's get Naoto back up. Uh-oh, it's going next, and Chie is probably going to go down in that case. This would be funny if it actually did it.
Yikes, it's time.
Not quite. And Rampage again.
Good move, Naoto-kun.
Well,
You're
that
on a
barely did
roll.
anything at all. And let's finish you off with Frost Shot.
That's what comes of underestimating me.
Did you see just the sheer increase in damage Mind Charge gave to that? Yeah, Mind Charge is incredibly good when stacked with other buffs. Yeah, something that trips and falls over when trying to attack us is definitely not enough to break our will. Let's go ahead and heal before we progress onward, though. And I think I'll switch back to Norn for the double auto skills. So yes, another TV trope that I think is often misused when it comes to this game, but this is one where the misused version has actually evolved into the trope's actual definition by this point, so it doesn't really count anymore, but it's still, I just still find this interesting. So, walking spoiler. So I would say that Izanami qualifies as a walking spoiler. A walking spoiler, the original definition, is a character whose very existence is a spoiler. A character for whom the very phrase, this character is a character in, and then the work's name, is itself inherently a spoiler. So for example, the phrase, Izanami is a character in Persona 4. Just saying that is a spoiler. So I would say that Izanami qualifies as a walking spoiler.
That's the spirit now, Tokun.
But of course, these days, usually the term has just come to mean a character who has a lot of spoilers surrounding them. For example, Adachi. So Adachi, you know, it's very hard to talk about him or his role in the plot without spoiling that he's the true killer. And thus, people call Adachi a walking spoiler. The thing is, that was not the original definition of the trope. Adachi would actually not qualify as per the original definition because the expression Adachi is a character in Persona 4 is not inherently a spoiler. Because Adachi is a character from the very start. We know he's Dojima's partner. We see him all through the town. Even before, like Golden, when he wasn't a social link, he was still very obviously a character in the story. Now, I would say that Namatame might qualify as a walking spoiler, because the expression Namatame is a character in Persona 4, Namatame's role was so minor before he appeared, before, you know, Nanako's arc, that just revealing that he is a major character is itself a spoiler, so I would say that he counts. But again, I don't think Adachi counts, because we know he's a character, his true nature is just not known to us. But Izanami, on the other hand, well, obviously she counts, because to say that she's even a character in this plot is inherently a big spoiler. Yeah, I had a feeling that was a female-only piece of armor. Uzume robe, plus 108, that's actually really nice. I'll take that on Chie. Might be good for Naoto too. So yeah, that's a reference to Ame no Uzume, who was the one who lured Amaterasu out of her cave when she hid herself. Which a lot of people have said is interesting because she basically did a striptease, I think. Okay, there are the stairs. I just wanted to find the stairs here because this is as far as we'll go. We've fought one mini-boss. I think that's enough for one trek into this place. But as always, we'll have to see the boss quote here. And yeah, this will be something to think about for next time. Yu Narukami represented hope. Emptiness was Adachi and despair was Namatame. So we still don't know what Izanami's real goal in all of this was. She was testing us, but I guess we'll have to find out for ourselves why she did all this. Let's use a Goho M to head out, and I'll see you next time for some more underworld exploration. Oh, I still love all those floating cubes here. Like, this is... I honestly think this place, like, deserves more attention.